everybody. Hello, good morning. Really lovely to see you and welcome. So I'm Sally. Some of you know me. I am one of the makeup artists with Look Fabulous Forever. And today what I'm going to focus on is achieving the perfect cheek makeup. Because makeup for your cheeks can make such a massive difference, particularly as we age. I'm going to be showing you how I apply my blusher, my bronzer, my highlighter, and some different techniques for different face shapes as well. So if you have got any questions, there is a comments box, so just pop them into the comments, the chat box, and then I will hopefully have some time at the end to answer your questions. We've also got a really good offer on this week, which I just want to mention before I forget to tell you. We've got 20% off all our makeup this week using the code SPARK, S-P-A-R-K. So what have I already done this morning? I have today used my 3 primers, my face prime, my eye prime, and my lip prime. And I have done my base. Because it's summer, I quite like to use the Light Look Beauty Balm. So I've used Light Look Beauty Balm in shade 0.5. And I've put some concealer on in shade 2. And I've done my eyes. So I have used my trusty warm brown trio on my eyes. And I have used dark brown eyeliner and some black waterproof mascara because it's reasonably hot out there today, and bring back brow shape in blonde. And I've done my lips as well with Roseberry lip liner and True Coral, and I've also used my Cinnamon Kiss lip gloss, which are some of my favourites for the summer. So let's talk about cheeks. Let's first of all talk about, I'd like to talk about bronzer actually, because that's quite an important one, particularly in the summer. So what I haven't done yet is I haven't put any powder on. Now I am warm toned, so I can actually put my blusher on and then put my bronzer on. But actually, if you are cool toned, it's much better to do your bronzer first and then your blusher. And in fact, what I've started doing as a warmer toned person in the summer is I start by putting some bronzer on, then I actually put my blusher on, and then if I want a little bit more bronzer, I put that on right at the end. Really important. I've done another video on this. If you're going to be using our beautiful bronzer, which is, it looks like this. So it is called our Enduring Summer Bronze. It looks incredibly orange in the palette. I promise you, if you have not tried this, it does not come out that colour. Because when I first saw this colour, I thought, oh my goodness, there's no way I'm going to wear this. But it is much more gentle, and it actually does suit people, even if they're cooler in colouring. However, top tip when you're using bronzer is to use powder first. So we do a lovely translucent powder, our translucent finishing powder. And the reason for that is a lot of ladies put their foundation on, or even they don't wear foundation, they just put some moisturizer on and think, I'm going to put a bit of bronzer on to give me a bit of colour. And they get their bronzer brush, put it in and go straight on. And obviously bronzer is a powder. So if you're putting bronzer onto a slightly sticky face, or a face that has just had a cream put on it, it's going to grab. And you will then get sort of patches of unevenness with your bronzer. So what I would always suggest before doing it, so let me just put my clip on so you can actually see my forehead as well. So nice look. There we go. So don't forget any comments, just any questions in the chat box. So what I do first, I actually have two of the brush number 1. So this is our big fat powder brush. And I like to use one just for powder, and one of them I actually put a little label on, so I know this is my bronzer brush, because otherwise it can get a little bit mixed up. So I like to take a sweep of my powder and just put it on, particularly on the neck area. Don't forget your neck area. If you're going to put some bronzer on the neck area, put powder on first, because otherwise it will grab, particularly if you've used our lovely new neck cream, which I am absolutely loving. I don't know if any of you are trying that, but I love it. So a bit of powder just to take off any shininess, so that when I use my bronzer, it's not going to grab on. Here. Okay, the powder is really, really super fine. If you haven't tried it, there's only one shade, but it suits all, and it's finely milled, so it doesn't sit in all my fine lines, my lifelines, I call them. We've all got lifelines and we need them, but some powders will sit really heavily into any lines and just really can age a face by about 10 years. So let me talk about the bronzer. So our bronzer, you can either use it as a bronzer or you can use it as a contour powder. Contour powders tend to be slightly maybe grayer and duller in colour, because what you're doing with contouring is you are creating shadow, you're pushing back. But because ours is quite a natural matte colour, I find you can actually use it to do both contouring and as literally a bronzer to give you a little bit of a lift. So what do I like to do? I like to use it to add warmth and to give a little bit of a sun-kissed look. You can see that I've done my eyes, I've done my lips, but there's something missing. It's all about balance. And I think particularly on an older face, if you don't have balance, it can just not look quite right. So having that little bit of colour to your cheeks, to be able to sculpt your cheeks, can just make you look fresh and more youthful. You see people pinching their cheeks when they go out. Just it looks as though you've gone out for a lovely walk in the sunshine, in the fresh air. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my big brush, this one. This is my powder brush one. And the thing to remember is that dark colours push back and light colours pull forward. So the simplest thing to do with this is to do a number 3 shape. And this is, I've got a fairly oval face, so I can do this. So I literally do that and do that. So if you're new to bronzer, this is the easiest thing to do. Literally, boom, 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 like that. Same on the other side, a 3. So you can see it hardly shows. It's not scary. It's not orange like it looks in the pack. So we're just going literally like that. And you can build up with the Look Fabulous Forever products, which is really, really nice. They're really gentle, so it's not scary. You can just put a little bit more on, like that. I also quite like to put a little bit on my neck area, on my jaw, so just a little bit here, so that I haven't got a floating face. Because when you put foundation or Light Look Beauty Balm on, sometimes the neck area is a little bit lighter. So I basically just put a little bit here. You can even focus a bit more on the jaw. Although I've got an oval face, I've got a little bit of squareness here, and I quite like to push that back by putting just a little bit of the bronzer to create a bit more shadow, just to push that back a little bit. You can see that. I quite like to put it in my temples. And what you can, some ladies just like to put a sweep across their nose. You can also use it actually as a little bit of a contour, as I said earlier. So if you want to make your nose look a little bit shorter or a little bit narrower, what you can do is take your eyeshadow brush, this is our brush number 7, and just take a little bit of bronzer and put a little bit just down the outer edges of the nose, just like that, just to create a bit of shadow there. And I quite like to put a little bit just in a little V shape on the bottom as well, just to push that up. You can see that that's just created that bit of shadow there. So just a little thing, little top tip with the bronzer that you can do. You can, if you want to, when you're doing the sort of the contouring, you can use a different brush. You can use our foundation brush number 3, which has actually got a sort of a it's like that shape, so it's not round, so it's got a slant to it. So what some ladies like to do is use that just to sort of contour, creating cheekbones. You can do that as well with a bronzer. A little bit here, just under the cheekbones, and that creates that little bit of shadow. You see the young girls doing this with foundation. They'll put a dark foundation here, they'll put a light concealer or a lighter foundation. You can have the same effect much, much easier, literally, with our summer enduring bronzer, and it looks very natural. So I'm going to come back at the end, but I hope you can see there's a little bit of extra warmth. I've sort of slimmed my nose a little bit. I've put a bit on my neck, and nice to see everybody. It's so nice actually. When I'm doing a video myself, I've got nobody to talk to. It's really nice to actually see faces there. So thank you for joining. Okay, now blusher. As we age, we tend to lose contrast to our face. Certainly when I've got no makeup on, and I haven't done my eyes and I haven't done my lips, I look very one colour. I just look very beige. My eyelashes have faded a little bit, my eyebrows have faded, my cheeks have faded, my lips have definitely faded. And so for me, if I don't add colour to my aging face, I just look bland. And for me, the bit when I put the blusher on makes a massive difference, because it gives me that little bit of, as I said, as though I've been out for a lovely walk in the fresh air. And it's probably the quickest way to give you a healthy, fresh look is to put some blusher on. The blusher that Look Fabulous Forever has, the Real Radiance blush, is actually quite a unique product if you haven't tried it. I always used to use powder blushers when I was younger. Then I went for a while, I switched over into using just cream blushes because I thought, no, they're better. But I sometimes found that the cream blushes were either really hard to actually put into place, or they just sunk into the skin. And sometimes powder blushes just sit on the skin surface. I've got very fine sort of down on my face. So I find sometimes if I just used a powder blush, it just wouldn't go on very well. It would just sit on the cheeks. So the Look Fabulous one is actually, it is a cream, but it turns into a silky powder. And there are various shades as well. So I tend to use, or I'm warmer, but I tend to use one of the ones that's for both warm and cool. So I tend to use either the peach cream, this one, which can be used if you're warm or if you're cool, or I use Desert Rose if I want a little bit more colour, which again is good for warm and cool. So we have something that is lovely. When I've got a little bit more colour, if I go on holiday and do get a bit more colour, I will use Coral Pop. That's really good if you're very warm. Very difficult to see the actual colours on the screen. It's not quite as scary as it looks, but that's Coral Pop for really warm skins. If you are cooler, you can definitely still wear the peach cream. You can wear the Desert Rose. You might also like Rosy Glow, which is this one. Rosy Glow, you can, again, some warm ladies like Rosy Glow. It's got a little bit more pink in than the peach cream. And then we've got Petal Pink, which is definitely for cooler. As you can see, that's quite a blue-based pink. You don't need very much of this, but a little looks really nice on cool ladies. And then we've got this one, which is Raspberry Pop, which again looks quite scary, but if used sparingly, it's beautiful on cooler skin tones, depending on your skin tone. So if you're not sure if you're warm or cool, go on the website, and if you haven't done the colour quiz, it's actually really good and really easy. But if you're absolutely unsure which one to go for, and your skin tone isn't too dark, I would probably start with peach cream as a sort of a good basis. So let's have a little go. The other thing is we do actually have both peach cream and Rosy Glow come in larger sizes, so just worth knowing if you want to have a bigger blusher, but I quite like the smaller ones because I can just easily take them away if I'm traveling. So I'm going to show you where I put my blusher in a moment, but I'm also going to talk about mistakes, because a lot of people put their blusher on too heavily and they go, oh no, it's too much, too much. You can take it off. Either I always have with me just a little sponge wedge, which I use just to take off, or you can go over a little bit with, this is my foundation brush. You can add a little bit more of your Light Look Beauty Balm and just sort of blend it out, or even a little bit more powder. But less is more with blusher. You can always build up. And I tend to do my blusher, and then I do my lips, and then I go back and reassess whether I need any more blusher at all after that. So, as I said, I've got a fairly oval face. So have a good look at your face shape and see whether you've got a longer face than it is wide, or if your face is shorter and the same width, it might be rounder. We'll talk about other shapes in a moment, but let's just talk about sort of an oval face shape, which is considered to be a good shape to putting on makeup. I mean, there's no wrong and there's no right, there's no perfect shape, and everybody is individual. You might be oval with a little bit of sharpness. So what I tend to do is look at myself in the mirror. If you smile, you think, a lot of people think, okay, smile, apple of the cheeks. As we age, our apples drop, everything starts to drop. So what you don't often want to do is go too low with blusher, particularly as we age. You don't want to go too high, but you don't want to go too low. So there's some tips. You can either look at yourself and think, right, I want to look at the middle of my eye and move out slightly. Or a good tip is you can just take 2 fingers close to your nose, and that, you can see that is just a little bit further out from the center of my eye. That's a good sort of starting point. So either just the middle and slightly out, or 2 fingers. I was doing this with a lady at a makeup lesson. She said, my fingers are really, really wide. It's not going to work with me. So obviously it just depends how wide your fingers are. But the average finger, the average size fingers, that can work quite well. Otherwise, middle, slightly out. I like to actually apply the blusher with my finger, and then I blend it with my blusher brush, but you can use the blusher brush to put it on with. So let's take I might actually use Desert Rose. No, I won't. I'll use Peach Cream to start with. So I tend to use my middle finger, and I smile, and I like to think of it as a teardrop or a raindrop. That's nicer than a teardrop. You don't want to be sad. So I kind of think of it as that shape. So I tend to place it on, starting in the middle, little bit higher than the apple, and going upwards and outwards with blusher. So I'm sort of patting on. Because it's creamy, it's so easy to put on. You can just literally blend it in. So starting literally just out from there and upwards. I've heard somebody say like a little tadpole. There's all sorts of ways to, it's just a way to remember. I like teardrop, raindrop, that sort of shape is for me how I remember on an oval face. So you're just creating, let's add a tiny little bit. There's no reason why you can't mix, and I sometimes do that. Sometimes I put my peach cream on and then I add a little bit of Desert Rose on top just to give it a little bit more colour. So just bringing it upwards. And what I like to do then is take my blusher brush. So this is our brush number 2. And I hold it actually at the bristles so that I'm in control of the brush rather than waving it. And a lot of people go very, very stripy with their blusher, so it looks like stripes. I actually prefer to do it in a slightly swirly motion. So I'm actually swirling it upwards. So it's outwards and upwards. And you just should look like you've got a nice, that's now started, hopefully, to balance my face a little bit. It's still not, I haven't put loads on. I'd much rather, with blusher, put less on and then build up, because it's harder to take it off. So just tap it in and upwards. If you are a glasses wearer, it's important to know where your glasses frame finishes, particularly for blusher. If you've got really big glasses, you don't want to have your blusher coming underneath the glasses frame. So it's important just these are the glasses you probably see me do when I'm doing my makeup videos. These are my funky glasses that I wear. So I haven't gone too high. So just check where your glasses finish on your face as well. So it's quite nice that my glass, if you've got big glasses, you don't want the blusher to be in here. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. Just check that your glasses aren't being, so that you haven't got your blusher too high. But most people tend to wear the blusher too low rather than too high as we age, because they start here, or too round or too far in. Definitely you want it just a sort of a flush of colour coming outward, and then reassess it after you've done your lips. So that's blusher. So we put some bronzer on, and because I am warmer in colouring, what I sometimes do is go back and put a little bit of bronzer actually over my cheeks. I wouldn't do this if you're cooler. If you're cooler, just do the bronzer after your powder and before your blusher. But if you are warm like me, you can. I sometimes actually go back in with my blusher brush and just add just a sweep of bronzer, just to give myself a little bit more warmth. So that's something you can do if you're warmer. Okay, what I'm going to do now is talk about one of my favourite products that Look Fabulous Forever does, and I call it my magic pen, and it is my Instant Bright Highlight clicky pen. Love it, absolutely love this product. It's a very, very clever product. It's a highlighter for more mature skin because it's not too shiny. Sometimes you don't want iridescence sitting, particularly as you can see, I've got a lot of lines here, and I don't want really, really shiny highlighter here because that will just accentuate those lines. But I quite like dewiness, and this will help to sculpt your face in a way that bronzer can and blusher can. So what this product does is it adds, I would say, dewiness and a little bit of luminosity without being too shiny. And you can use it in all sorts of areas, this product. The traditional area to use it is on the top of your cheekbones. So I quite like to do 3 dots like that, literally. So it's a clicky pen, you just need to click it to get the product out. 3 dots like that. That's a sort of starting place. You can see even before I blend, it looks a bit weird until you blend it, but it just creates that little bit of light, which means that my cheekbones are going to be pulled forward a little bit. And also what it means is as I turn my head, you've just got that little bit of dewiness and radiance. Really nice product because it's not too shiny. So three dots. I quite like to use it a little bit above my brows as well. So you can actually, if you want to, do a sort of proper C shape. So you can just a little bit above the brows as well, that area. I've got 2 really quite deep frown lines. I've got 3 sons, and I've obviously spent a lot of time going to my three boys. So this is a great product if you've got any deep lines to actually fill in the lines, because light brings forward. So you put it in your frown lines and then just pat it. You've got to remember to pat it, otherwise it looks weird. What it does is just soften any frown lines very, very subtly. You can use it on, if you've got marionette lines here and here, you can use it there too. You can use it, I quite like to use it on my Cupid's bow as well. So literally a tiny, tiny amount. Easier to do this before you put your lipstick on, not afterwards, but I don't know if you can see that. Don't put too much on because it will look otherwise like you've had a frothy cappuccino and you haven't wiped it off. But if you're having your photo taken, it's quite nice to have a little bit of highlighter on your Cupid's bow. Some ladies like to bring it all the way around their lips. I quite like just to put it on the Cupid's bow area, just to bring forward. The other place that you can put it is to highlight, and again, slim a nose. So you can put a stripe, just one stripe down the center of the nose, and then just blend it in. And that will just bring forward the nose. So I put the contouring bronzer here and here, and a little bit of light down the center of the nose. And again, that can make quite a big difference actually to a nose, just a little bit there. The other place that I always use this product, I know we're talking about cheeks today, but I haven't done it this morning because I haven't used this product yet, is underneath my eyebrows. And I love to put it just literally under the highest part of the brow, just to highlight that. What I tend to do then is take my concealer brush number 4 and just blend that so that it makes your brows look sharper, because you're bringing forward with light the brow bone, which will just highlight brows, particularly if you've used the bring back brow shape. You might want to do that before you do your brows and then do your bring back brows, but I haven't done that today. I've just done it afterwards. So this product is brilliant. And I'd say if you haven't tried it, it's so easy to use and it can just make you look definitely more radiant. So I just want to talk a little bit about face shapes now, because it can make a difference. So have a good look at yourself with your hair pulled back. Now, obviously, how you wear your hair can affect what your face shape looks like. We'll talk about that in a moment. But just looking at your actual face, have a look and see whether it is longer than it is wide. If there's not much difference between the length of your face and the width of your face, and it's kind of fairly, you might find that you've got what you would describe as a round face. If you've got a round face, what I would definitely do is put a little bit of that bronzer probably using this brush. So this is my foundation brush number 3. I would put a little bit of bronzer, like I did, under the cheekbones, just like that, just to create a little bit of hollow there. And I would definitely put the highlighter, like I've done, on the cheekbone. So you're creating more of a cheekbone area. And I would even put a little bit of the highlighter on my chin. Again, just a little bit sort of on the chin area. What I would also do with my blusher, rather than putting my blusher like that, if I've got a very round face, I would make my blusher a little bit more vertical to create length. So rather than doing it like that, I would do it a little bit, not hardly different, but a little bit more that way. Definitely not that way, because that will make the face look wider as well. So that's what I would do with a rounder face. I put a little bit of bronzer on the temples as well, just to sort of push in a little bit. But highlighter here, bronzer here, just to sort of suck in a little bit. My blusher slightly more vertical. You might find when you look at yourself that you've got quite a square face, quite angular. So with a square face, it's different from a rectangular face. A square face, again, will be short, about the same length as it is wide, but will have some quite angles to it. And with a square face, it's quite nice to actually add softness with your blusher. Blusher, again, on the apples, slightly out, and bring it out, like I did earlier, towards the temples. Definitely highlighter. And what I would do with a highlighter with a square face is put a little bit of highlighter in the center of the forehead as well, and down the nose, which will draw in and make that bit sort of stand out a little bit more. And likewise, I would contour the temple area to push that bit in with a square face. So adding softness with blusher. You might find you've got a face that is wider at the top. So some people call this a heart-shaped face, and maybe a very pointed chin. You might have a pointed chin, so you might have what's either called a triangular face or a heart-shaped face. So if that is you, again, you'll have more width at the top and it will be narrower. And I would, with that kind of shaped face, it's actually quite a nice, I mean, all these faces are nice shapes, but I would emphasize my cheekbones here. I would, again, put a little bit of contouring on the temples using the bronzer. And to actually offset a very pointy chin, if you've got a very pointy chin, you can actually, this is something that, I don't do this very often, but you can actually use concealer to change your face shape slightly. So what you could do is put a little bit of lighter concealer, literally along the bottom of your face from your ears towards your chin, which will bring that forward, which will sort of disguise the pointiness of the face. So you don't want to draw attention to here, and you want to slim down potentially this area. And I would still just do my blusher on my apples and upwards with a heart-shaped face. Rectangle. Again, this is quite a common face shape. It's where you've got, again, like an oval, but you've got some angles to it. So with this face shape, what you want to do is you might have a very strong angled jawline. So again, blusher can make a massive difference. A nice swirly blusher, swirling just above the upper apple. And with a face that's rectangular, particularly if it's a very narrow face, I would do the opposite with my blusher to what I said about my round face. I would make my blusher a little bit more horizontal. So I do it that way rather than with a round face, making it more vertical. With an oval face, we're just doing that. So if you've got a very narrow and rectangular face, make your blusher a little bit flatter, still quite high, but flatter. And with a rectangular face, I would definitely use my highlighter, my clicky pen, on the high points of the cheekbones. And I would potentially also, depending on what your hairline is like, I would use a little bit of bronzer to shorten the hairline. So I would, with a long face, if you put your bronzer up here, right into the hairline, like that, it has the effect of shortening a face. If you've got length, you can, by putting dark, it will push back. So dark there for a rectangular face. So I think the key to all of this is don't panic, because the products that look fabulous forever do are incredibly gentle, and you can't go too wrong. Some blushes are so strong, some bronzers are incredibly shiny, which ours isn't. It's completely matte, and therefore you can't make it look too bad. And actually you'll think, do I need a bit more? You'll need to build up a little bit potentially. But I actually think sometimes at the end, I just do a little sweep, as I said, because I'm warmer, sweep more. Don't forget your neck. And what I like to do when I've done all of it is to go back to my powder, and I actually just take my powder and just dust off again, just to make sure that everything stays for the day. So I don't know if we've got any questions. If anyone's got any questions on face shapes, on blusher, on colours. But if you haven't used the blusher, give it a go, because I think you'll find that it brings everything together. I don't know, Amelia, if we've got any questions.
Not got any questions.
No questions. Well, I hope I haven't confused you. I think the key is look at yourself, look at your face shape. We've actually also got on the website, we've got some really good information on face shapes and how to use blusher and bronzer. And I think I've also done a video on blusher, bronzer and contouring, which is in quite a lot of depth. But I think the thing to remember about contouring is you are pushing back to create shadow. Blusher is a different thing. You're creating that sort of bit of freshness, as though you've pinched your cheeks. You're giving yourself colour. And our Bronzer you can use, as I said, as a contour or just to give yourself that bit of sun-kissed look. And if you're just going for the sun-kissed look, it's where the sun would hit your face. So up here, even a little bit on the nose, on the tops of the cheeks is where you would tend to get sun-kissed. So even if you just want to use it like that, as long as you use the powder first so that you're not putting bronzer onto a sticky face or a face that's just had moisturizer or just had foundation on. That's the key to using the bronzer, and it's not as scary as it looks at all. It really, really isn't. So no questions at all, I don't think. That's there's you know, it's been lovely. It's been lovely talking to you and seeing you, and seeing the ladies that I can see. I know some people have got their cameras off. So I think what I want to say again is, don't forget, there is an offer on this week, 20%. It's a really good offer, 20% off all our makeup using the code SPARK. And I want to tell you about our next live event as well, which is going to be next Thursday. Tricia is back I know she's been away on holiday, and she is back talking to Katerina, who does all our makeup formulation. So it's Thursday, the 29th of August. I think it's at 11 o'clock. Is that right, Amelia? I think it's the same time.
Yeah, at 11.
11 o'clock. If you want to find out about how our makeup is formulated, which is fascinating, I have been to the factory and seen it. It's absolutely fascinating, and it's lovely that we are making our own makeup as well here in the UK. It's just absolutely brilliant. It's nice to see, and you'll be able to have Tricia will be having a conversation with Katerina about makeup formulation. So I hope you've enjoyed this morning, and I hope that you enjoy wearing your blusher, your bronzer, and definitely your highlighter to create shape and to bring back that contrast. We lose that everything's going to get very one color, so it can just bring back color and definition and just make a slightly more mature face, I think, look more awake, alive, and just really, really nice. And it finishes off the look. So enjoy. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me this morning on it's quite dull out here actually today. I don't know what it's like where you are. But I hope that I will see you again. I think I'm coming back again in September. I think I'm doing eyes then. But otherwise, I really look forward to seeing you, and enjoy and have a lovely week. Thank you so much. See you again soon. Bye-bye.